So at this point, we have our keyboard part and we have our drum part, and we're still going to make a few changes to each of those tracks or each of those parts a bit later. But right now, what I want to do is add a bass part, and I'm actually going to use EZKeys to do this. So I'm going to take the EZKeys MIDI and I'm just going to export it out. So let me move this over so you can see the menu here. We're just going to go to Song Track, Export as MIDI file. So let's call this EZKeys Neo Soul. I'm going to actually drag this into a new track. Make sure I get to the beginning and make sure it starts in the right place. So we have our keyboard part on a brand new channel in Studio One. Now I'm going to go to my browser here in Studio One, and I'm actually going to grab this presence instrument. And this is just a player for Studio One. You have a lot of different instruments that you can use. So this is a part of the Studio One package. This is Presence XT. So I'm going to go down to the bass category here of instruments. We'll go to fretless bass, and I'm going to use this fretless bass open. Kind of a nice bass sound for it just being a stock sound in Studio One. Let me rename this track. All right, and what I'm actually going to do to create the bass part is go into my MIDI editor. And again, this is just the EZKeys part. If I play it, I'll solo it. So it's literally mirroring what the keyboard is doing. However, these lower notes here, I can actually use as a bass part. So what I'm going to do is very quickly go through, and I'm just going to use the lowest note and get rid of everything above it. So I'll do this just for a section of this song so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'll bring in the finished version here. So I'm just getting rid of a lot of these top notes. And even here, if we take a listen, that already sounds nice. I just kept the bottom notes in. And actually, this one is a low enough note that there are no samples for it. So I'm just going to move that up an octave. That is Shift Arrow in Studio One. Looks like I got rid of something there. So while you're doing this, you don't want to get rid of one of the bottom bass notes within the keyboard part by accident, like I just did. So let's go back and I'll just delete this here. And actually, some of these little tiny notes are great to leave in as well because they give it some rhythmic movement. So it's actually like a bass player playing some moving notes or some rhythmic notes between the main notes. So I actually like to leave those in. So this little note right here, I'm going to leave in. It's right before the downbeat of measure 8. So again, I'll go through, just delete a few more of these. And you just kind of see where we can leave some of those smaller rhythmic notes in there. So this takes a little bit of time, but actually it's a great way to create a really nice sounding bass part. Okay, so I'm basically up to measure 10. This is our entire intro. Let's take a listen. Move that up an octave once again. We'll go and delete these. Again, we want to keep just the lowest notes. And sometimes these little pickup notes, like right here, are nice to leave in. It gives the bass part just some rhythmic movement, just like a real bass player would play. They're not just playing long notes, they're actually playing some rhythms in there as well, and some different notes within the chord that fit. So let's take a listen just from the beginning. Okay, and this may happen. I missed this. This is not the lowest note, so I'm going to take that out. You could hear that that didn't fit. And I also don't like this note right here. I don't really like that rhythm and how it fits with the keyboard part. So what I'm actually going to do is just delete that, and let's extend this out a little bit longer and see if that works. And again, here's one more we need to move up an octave. So that seems to work for the intro. And what I am going to do, and I've actually already done this, I'm going to go through and just delete all those extra notes. Just keep the bass notes. If the notes are too low for this library, basically below C1 here, then I'm just going to raise it up an octave. I'm going to use that to create my bass part. Okay, so I'll go ahead and bring this in now, so I don't have to spend the time to go through and edit this entire thing. It does take a little bit of time, but again, it's a great way to create a nice sounding bass part. All right, so I brought in my complete bass part, and this is the fully edited part. I'll go ahead and double click this so you can see what I've done here. And I'll just play through so you can watch. And I want you to notice too, as we get further in this, I have a lot of these little rhythmic things happening like I mentioned, and that's coming straight from EZKeys. I really didn't make any adjustments. I just listened to the bass part and kept some of these rhythmic variations in. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but I tweaked it and modified some of the lengths of some of these notes as well, both the short and longer notes, to fit well with the song. And this is what I came up with. And those little stops there, that was something I manually did as well to go along with the music. Instead of the long notes being held, I wanted that bass to be staccato to go along with the music. So now we have a bass part that fits really well with the song. I'll just go through a couple of the choruses and different sections of the song so you can hear the bass parts. So that's how I created the bass part for this song using EZKeys. I just took the exact song that we created here, the exact song structure, copied that MIDI, or actually exported it out of the plugin, and then brought that in, created a bass track in my DAW. I used the stock bass sounds that came with Studio One. I just chose a fretless bass. And then we got rid of all of the top notes from the keyboard part, so we just have the root, so the lower bass notes, and then I kept some of the rhythmic variations in there, and now we have a bass part that fits the song very nicely.